Welcome! You have arrived at the Afterlife office, where history's greatest and most notorious scientists hang out. Now, let's get straight in with Jeffrey, our Afterlife interviewer. Jeffrey, take it away before our guests start questioning their life choices, or lack thereof.
Joseph Montgolfier, good to see you. What brings you in today?
I died, unfortunately. I lived a very fruitful life, and I created things that I dream will be used for future generations. I invented the calorimeter. Don't know if you know what that is, but it's the thing that you use to measure the difference of heat in any reaction. And also, don't forget about a hot air balloon. Great invention. It shocked the people of France and brought them lots of joy. But I was also honored by the French Academy of Sciences for being such a smart man.
What would you say was your most important invention, though?
Definitely the hot air balloon. It brought joy to the people of France, and I was the first to win the race against the Roberts, who created their weird hydrogen gas balloon.
How do your balloons work? Is it magic?
No, I actually first thought it was magic, but then I realized it wasn't actually magic. I thought the smoke created all the lift, so when I first did my experiment, I used a bunch of hay and other materials to create as much smoke as possible. But unfortunately, Charles proved me wrong. Damn Charles guy.
Essentially, warmer air rises in cooler air. Gay-Lussac's law states that the pressure of a gas is directly proportional to the temperature when the volume is kept constant. In a hot air balloon, the burner heats the air inside the balloon, increasing its temperature. It causes the pressure of the air inside the balloon to rise. The higher pressure of the hot air compared to the cooler air outside creates a buoyant force that lifts the balloon off the ground. The Archimedes principle states that the buoyant force on a submerged object is equal to the weight of the fluid that is displaced by the object. The balloon and the basket displaces a fluid that is heavier than the balloon and the basket, so it has a buoyant force acting on the system. The force of buoyancy is stronger than the force of gravity acting on the balloon. Hot air is lighter than cool air because it has less mass per unit of volume. A cubic foot of air weighs roughly 28 grams. If you heat that air by 100 degrees Fahrenheit, it weighs about 7 grams less. Therefore, each cubic foot of air contained in a hot air balloon can lift about 7 grams. So to lift about 1,000 pounds, you need about 65,000 cubic feet of hot air.
Do you think your invention with hot air is more powerful than the invention of the Robertses, whose balloon used hydrogen gas instead?
Absolutely. It's way safer, doesn't randomly combust, and it's way cheaper to make just using a single source of flame to heat up any hot air.
Rest in peace. Know that what you did helped the world. Humphrey Davy, I hope you've been well. I heard of your valuable research of chemistry, and I'm ecstatic that I have the pleasure of interviewing you today. Let's begin with your life story. What brings you here today?
Well, first of all, I made the marvelous discovery that nitrous is, in dosages under 6 hours, not poisonous to humans and has no side effects, which allowed me to use Joseph Priestley's invention of nitrous oxide, which I promptly named laughing gas, as I discovered the psychologically numbing effects of the gas that caused the inhaler to slow the nervous system and provide a sense of euphoria, hence the name laughing gas. All jokes aside, my discoveries with nitrous oxide aided the medical industry and the patients affected, since it was used as a rudimentary anesthetic.
That sounds fascinating. Aside from the effects of nitrous oxide, could you explain the scientific reasoning behind its numbing properties?
Of course. So, basically, how it works is that when nitrous oxide is inhaled, it displaces the air in the patient's lungs due to the higher density of nitrous oxide compared to air, which prevents oxygen from reaching the blood and the brain. And it's absorbed into the bloodstream and then sent up to the brain, which increases the amount of dopamine produced by it, giving the patient that euphoric feeling. And also, it increases opioid peptide release in the brain, which slows down the neurons, causing the nervous system to slow down overall, allowing for the patient to be operated on without the significant discomfort. Doesn't that beat biting down on a stick while somebody saws off your arm?
It sure does. So what made you want to use nitrous oxide to achieve this effect in the first place?
That's a very understandable question. Originally, my studies stem from my mentor, Thomas Beddoes, who was convinced that the inhalation of gases could treat diseases such as tuberculosis, blindness, diabetes, and more. So, when I was performing similar experiments, on myself of course, I was inhaling some nitrous oxide when I realized that after some time, the toothache that had been bothering me completely vanished. This fascinated me, leading me to perform more experiments on myself and others, and I furthered my observations of the neurological effects of nitrous oxide, which was picked up by various dental and medical clinics.
Thank you so much for your time, Mr. Davey.
Here, have some laughing gas.
I've lived but a pitiful life, filled with disappointment and hate from others around me. Sorry. I was called Merchant of Death, but I've done nothing wrong but create a weapon. I've lost everyone who cared for me, my mother and my brother, who my creation was the murderer.
I see now that you regret your decisions. What at the start brought the creation of dynamite?
I will not take credit for myself as a creator. I've done nothing but made wrong decisions. Mr. Sobero is my idol. He's the one that actually discovered dynamite in the form of nitroglycerin as an alternative to gunpowder in 1946. As he combined glycerin with nitric and sulfuric acid, nitroglycerin was created. Through chemical reaction, nitroglycerin liquid is decomposed into nitrogen gas, hydrogen vapor, carbon dioxide, and oxygen gas. 35 molecules of gas are expelled almost instantaneously, within a million of seconds. However, it was a deadly and unstable molecule. Nitro would sometimes go off with no heat or energy at all, making it a dangerous weapon that not even military wanted. My arrogant self thought I could control it. I couldn't even be more wrong.
Okay, what steps did you take to control nitro?
Okay. At the start, I decided a way to make nitro safer was by combining it with gunpowder. But I know it would have failed at the start. I'm so sorry. I knew that nitro only needed a more reliable trigger, and I hypothesized that hot gas from gunpowder would detonate the nitro, but that didn't work. When exposed to air, not enough pressure exists to confine the hot gunpowder gas to a small space. Therefore, I came up with a blasting cap, a wooden plug that slows escape of gunpowder fumes to trigger the nitro.
How did the public react to the creation?
They appreciated the creation at first. I'm so happy about it. But accidents soon appeared, and it became the public enemy, and it killed my brother. I wasn't given any more lab spaces, and I had to work over water for many years. My ship was even named the Nobel Death Ship. I hated it. I hated myself for even working on it. But I had to continue. In 1867, I found it. Nitro, combined with kieselguhr, a soft white clay, allowed the bundle of gas to be bonded together, weakening the nitro, which prevents accidental shocks from blowing the mixture up.
Then why are you not satisfied with the results? It seems like everything worked out.
No, not that. I have never intended my creation to be used in warfare. The sole purpose was to help people in buildings and mining, but it had become nothing but that. I wanted to atone for my sins, so I donated my money to create the Nobel Peace Prize.
Rest in peace. We normally think of Nobel Prizes as the summit of human achievement, but it was founded in vanity, a dying man attempting to repair his reputation.
Here's a model, by the way.
Let me out, go! Let me out!
Hello, Howard. As you just talked to Nobel, I've seen that you won one of his prizes. How did you do this?
I think you've heard of my invention. It's making food out of thin air. I was able to take the air, make ammonia, which allows Germany, my country, to make almost unlimited food. And we realized that nitrogen is a very significant limiting factor in the growth of plants. So by making this fertilizer out of thin air, we're able to allow our country and allow the world to grow vast amounts of food. But I wouldn't have been able to make this invention without this guy named Le Chatelier. I don't know if you've heard of him. But he came up with this laws about equilibrium and gas pressure, and how if you add reactants on one side, it ends up increasing the amount of things on the other side. And with this law that Le Chatelier came up with, I realized that this reaction to make ammonia, it requires lower temperatures and higher pressures. We couldn't lower the temperature absolutely as much as we wanted to because it required the use of a catalyst to decrease the activation energy. But overall, this is by far my greatest invention.
Would you say you're like Nobel in a way, considering your invention?
Yeah, you're right. If you think about my second invention, it was another thing I tried to do for my country. I wanted to help us win the war by creating this chlorine gas. I thought things would end sooner, not later. But it was a horrible mistake. It ended up leading to things just getting worse. The war took longer, and there were more and more deaths. I even came up with my own law, Haber's law, where I realized that the concentration of some poison in time equals some constant, and this constant can help predict how much gas or how much time of exposure is needed to sort of take someone's life with this gas. And even while I put all this time, all this research into this idea of ending a war with a gas, this gas ended up becoming a destructive force and made the war much worse than I could have ever predicted.
Are you proud of what you have done?
See, I don't know. You asked me if I'm like Nobel because he had the similar harms and the similar benefits to the world. But when I think back, I like to remember what I've done in creating ammonia and feeding the world. And even while my invention of chlorine gas did hurt things, I think there would have been another person who would have come along and done just what I did. I'll be remembered, hopefully, for what I did for my country, even if things didn't turn out the way I wanted. Here, try this mystery potion.
Now that we've finished our afterlife interview with our scientists, we really got to appreciate their inventions. Thank you for listening, and I hope to interview you guys in afterlife. I hope we're able to get another Jeffrey on the spot by tomorrow morning. Guess I need to order another one off Amazon. Here's a model of dynamite. He didn't get a face. Please wait until I get it out.
Let me out. Oh wait, the door.
That's crazy.
The door open.
That's right, you cut it off. That's